Last time we looked at Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. It was an okay game with clunky combat and horrible sound design. Today we're going to look at the next game in what is known as the Sands of Time trilogy, Prince of Persia, Warrior Within. Before I even hit new game, I have to mention this main menu. It's actually pretty interesting, showing this mysterious portal, and the menu is more circular, which is a nice change from a regular list from top to bottom. Also, this music. What the hell happened? In the Sands of Time, it was a pretty good Arabic music fitting of a Persian desert. But in this one, it's metal? Like, heavy metal? It's not bad or anything, it's just before you even start a new game, you can tell that this is going to be a dark, gritty, edgy sequel. Anyway, that's enough talk about the menu. Let's get to this game. The game begins with the prince being chased by this weird shadowy being, and it catches up to him at a dead end. But before it can absorb him, I guess you could say, it flashes forward to show that the prince is on a ship thinking back to that moment. I don't know how the prince escaped, it never explains. The prince and his crew are in the middle of a storm and fighting against the elements when suddenly they are attacked by another ship. This is where combat is introduced, and you can see how much better it got since Sands of Time. For one, the Dagger of Time is nowhere to be seen, because after causing the Grand Rewind, he gave it back to Farah and told her to guard it well. That means that you don't have to stab your enemies with the dagger to finish them off anymore. Another thing is that each enemy isn't easily defeated anymore. Each enemy has specific ways to defeat them, and they changed up the ways by introducing one simple thing, but it changed the entirety of the combat. Dual wielding. The prince can now have a secondary weapon that has durability and is able to break, but its addition has changed all of the combos that the prince can do and has made his moveset a lot more fun to play around with. In addition to that, the secondary weapons are able to be thrown whenever you want, and this is where you can also see how gruesome the combat has gotten. Instead of the enemies just turning into sand and being absorbed into the Dagger of Time, Warrior Within wanted to make this a lot more gruesome. Because when you throw your secondary weapon, you can decapitate your enemies and you will see the blood. And depending on what angle you slice your blade for your finishing move, you can slice your enemies in half. Alright, that's enough about the combat. It's a lot better than the Sands of Time. That's about all you gotta know. The prince continues through the enemies to fight the captain of the other ship, who turns out to be this woman, in very exposing armor I might add, and the first thing you see of hers is her butt. This is shitty, and all you know about her at this point is that she's trying to kill you. When you reach her, you fight her in a one-on-one duel, and midway through the fight she hits the prince in the face and he calls her a bitch. What's this game rated? M? Okay, that's understandable. As you lower her health, but before you defeat her, she mentions a woman called the Empress, but before she tells you any more, she kicks you off the ship. As the prince is in the ocean, he talks about how an old man he met told him that the Island of Time is where the Sands of Time were created, and where the Maharaja stole the hourglass from. Also, while they were there, they found portals that could send someone backwards through time. The prince talks about how he opened the Sands of Time, and the old man tells him that whomever opens the sands must die. And it doesn't matter that the prince did the Grand Rewind and made it so that the Sands of Time were never opened. The darkness from the beginning cutscene will keep chasing him until it kills him. The darkness does have a name though. It's called the Dahaka, and it's the guardian of the timeline. And the prince was supposed to die, and it will see that he meets his fate. The prince has an idea though, to travel to the Island of Time to go through one of the portals and stop the Empress of Time from ever creating the Sands of Time. So the Dahaka will have no quarrel with him. Makes sense. Actually, here's a good point to talk about the voice acting. I think it's pretty good. Everybody talks very formally and respectfully, well, except for the whole prince calling Shitty a bitch part, and I do really like it. Another thing is that the prince's voice actor changed. In Sands of Time, it was Yuri Lowenthal, who you may know as Sasuke from the Naruto series and Yosuke from Persona 4. In Warrior Within, it's Robin Atkin Downes, who you may know as Kazuhiro Miller from Metal Gear Solid 5, and Talbot in Uncharted 3. Another thing is that the graphics are a lot better. The CG cutscenes are beautifully done, and the animation and camera work are very fitting. The in-game graphics are definitely a lot nicer as well, but there are some in-game cutscenes where textures don't load, or the prince's lip syncing and mouth movements are a bit off. Alright, time to get back to the story. When the prince awakens, he's coincidentally on the island of time. How convenient. And must go through the island to reach the palace where the Empress awaits him. Right here at the shore of this island is where you can witness a lot of stuff different about this game. When you gain control of the prince again, you have the choice to turn tutorials on or off, which I thought was a nice touch, and also have full 3D camera control, which is amazingly helpful. You also have the choice to go into first person view if you want to see what's ahead of you, and landscape view is back, which makes the camera go into a fixed camera angle, and I actually found this very helpful to avoid certain traps. From the start menu, you can also see the prince's moveset as well if you want to try out new moves or try different button combinations for different combos. I thought it was a nice touch. To save your game now, you just simply drink from a fountain, and it also fully heals you. There is no more yellow pillar to save your game, which also means there is no more future vision. Thank God. That was stupid. You can also heal just drinking any sort of water source, it's just that the fountains will also save your game and they're nicely spread out. I have to mention this game over screen as well. It's so much darker and bloodier. Like, geez, Ubisoft, calm down. In Sands of Time, it was the prince telling a story and he's just like, no, that's not what happened. In this one, it's just, bam, game over, you're dead. Retry or quit. Another thing I want to mention is that there is now a map showing you where you are and when you are, and also an objective to where and when you are going. It's actually very handy. Around the world, you can also find treasure chests that contain bonus artwork inside, but the funny thing is that the prince doesn't just open them. No, he smashes them open. One thing that they didn't take out is the cutscene showing off the room and where to go next, which isn't that big a deal, but when you die a lot and have to witness it over and over, it can definitely get annoying. Thankfully, if you witnessed it already, you can fast forward the cutscene by holding X, and with CG cutscenes, they are completely skippable. The best change I witnessed is that they finally took out the cutscene when you are finished combat of the prince sheathing his swords. It's like they took all of my complaints from the first game and fixed everything. I'm loving this game so far. The beginning of this island has the strongest weapon in the game, a stick. No, I'm serious, this stick doesn't break no matter how much you kill. What's awesome is that there is also a certain moveset where you leap over the enemy and strangle them until you steal their weapon, and use it as a secondary weapon. So it doesn't take long to upgrade from said stick, but who would want to? As you make your way to the palace, you come across Shadi again, and follow her through a portal that allows the prince to go back in time, and also gain the power of recall, which is the power to rewind time. He's able to do this without the dagger because of the medallion in his armor. It's the same medallion that Farah wore as a necklace and is also able to absorb the sands from the fallen enemies of the island and act just like the dagger. As you chase Shadi through the palace, you are introduced to a few different types of enemies, and I can say this right now without a doubt, the acrobatic ninja women are by far the most annoying enemies in this game. Because of when they jump on your back and slit your throat, it takes off a huge chunk of health, and they are just so hard to hit because they're always dodging you. Thankfully, it only takes about 2 hits to actually kill them. When you catch up to Shadi, she is fighting against another woman in red, whose name is Kylina, and who asks for your help. Then you have to fight Shadi again while trying to stop her from stomping Kylina as she hangs off of a cliff. After defeating Shadi, the prince and Kylina get separated, and she tells the prince to leave because the Empress does not like men, and she will kill the prince as soon as she meets him. This is a good point to stop and talk about the life upgrades. There are 9 life upgrades in total, and you must find all of them to get the true ending to the game. Each upgrade is hidden behind an obstacle course of traps that aren't too difficult to navigate, but it's rewarding to get them. These life upgrades can also make the game a lot easier if you find all of them, and it makes a huge difference in combat. As you make your way through the palace to meet up with Kylina, you come across the Dahaka and get a really good look at it, and it kinda looks like Dorman from Shadow of the Colossus, don't you think? After a little bit, the Dahaka also finds the prince and starts to chase him. During these chase sequences, the screen turns into a sepia tone, and you have to keep moving or else the Dahaka will catch you and kill you. There is a good thing though. The Dahaka cannot cross water. So, if you keep moving, there is always a convenient waterfall before the room that holds a time portal. The Dahaka only chases the prince in the present time, so if you go back in time, the Dahaka won't chase you anymore. After going back in time, you come across a new kind of beast that looks like a dark human, and it throws an axe at the prince and it's trying to kill him, but it runs away when the prince dodges it. Eventually the prince catches up with Kylina, and she explains to him that the Empress is behind a sealed door, and that to unlock it, you have to go to a clock tower and the gardens to unlock the door. And to reach those areas, she gives you a new weapon called the Serpent Sword, to activate a crank that can create bridges to those areas. The game up to this point has been fairly linear, but at least at this point you have a choice of which way to go first. So have fun with that, because it's the only point in the game where it's kind of opened up like this. Okay, I have to mention these at this point, because this cutscene is where I noticed a horrible glitch, where the entire screen turned red while Kylina explained to the prince how to reach the Empress. But there have been other glitches as well, such as voices not lining up with the mouth movements.
It won't make a difference, though.
What do you mean?
Succeed.
I must very urgent.
The sands from being created. What is written in the timeline cannot be changed.
Thanks for the advice.
And this really bad one where I went into the time portal and then the environment disappeared and I fell to my death. There's also a lot more glitches, but I'm not going to get into all of them. Just be warned that there is a lot of glitches in this HD remaster. Anyway, I don't really have to go into details on what happens here. I think you can figure it out. The prince goes to the clock tower and to the gardens, gets chased by the Dahaka at points, and opens the door to the Empress. Although I will say that there is a cool boss in the clock tower against a golem where you have to climb it and whack it in the head a bunch just to stab it in the neck. I also have to mention that my game lagged a lot during the Dahaka chase in the gardens. So much so that it froze at points. After some research, I found out that the HD port of Prince of Persia is actually really laggy for a lot of people. The way that I found to fix it is to disconnect from the internet. It helped a bit, still lags a little, but at least it doesn't freeze to the point that I have to restart my PlayStation 3. So fair warning, disconnect from the internet. When you get back to the central control room, you can now enter the throne room with Kylina. The prince asks her to come back to Babylon with him, and she says that she can't because it turns out that she is the Empress, and she had a vision that her fate is that the prince has to kill her. After a fight, the prince does wind up killing her and stopping the Sands of Time from being created. Now it's time to get off the island and return to Babylon. Wait, hold on a second. The Dahaka is still around? But the prince stopped the creation of the sands though, right? Well, it turns out that in killing Kylina, you know, the Empress of Time, she was the last of the sands that was needed to complete them. Therefore, he was technically the creator of the Sands of Time. Realizing this, the prince accepts his fate and nearly gives up before reading some glyphs on a wall about how someone found the mask of the Sand Wraith and changed his fate. The prince gets a hold of himself and goes after the mask as he tries one last time to change his fate. After obtaining the mask, he's turned into the Sand Wraith, and he looks awfully familiar, doesn't he? Well, you'd be right. He is that dark human creature that threw an axe at you earlier in the game. While you are the Sand Wraith, your sands keep regenerating, but your health will constantly deplete to near death. So you have to keep slowing down time to avoid traps and make combat easier, so you have as much health as possible. Thankfully, it doesn't actually kill you. It goes down to about, if you have about 5% or a quarter of your health. As the Sand Wraith, the prince wants to stop himself from killing Kylina and stop the creation of the sands, but he's got to race against time to make it there on time. You get to see from the point of the Sand Wraith all of the times that the prince came across him, such as when he threw an axe at himself. It turns out that there was an enemy behind his past self that he was killing, and he saved his own life and didn't even know it. There was a point where the Sand Wraith gets killed by the Dahaka that I forgot to mention, but it is very important, because when you get back to this area, you know what's going to happen, and you avoid the Dahaka, and it kills your past self instead. And if you think this is a giant paradox, You'd be correct. Except I did some research and it turns out that the Mask of the Sand Wraith allows oneself to be in their own timeline, kind of like a whole other person. So anything that happens to the past prince will not affect the one in the present. Oh my god, this is the most blatant cop-out I've ever seen to avoid a paradox. When the past prince dies by the Dahaka, the present one wearing the mask should not exist anymore. It's the biggest problem I have with this game's plot. Anyway, it happened, and in the past self dying, the prince can now remove the mask and return to normal and go find Kylina. If you have all 9 life upgrades and you reach the throne room, you will acquire the water sword, which is the most powerful weapon in the game and kills almost every enemy in one hit. It also allows you to unlock the true ending, so this is the one that I will be talking about, because I was too lazy to play through the game again and unlock the original ending. After meeting up with Kylina again, the cutscene is almost the same, except this time the prince takes away Kylina's blades and asks her to return with him to the present. She fights back, but the prince tricks her into going through the time portal behind the throne and come to the present with him anyway. When they arrive, Kylina runs away from him, and when the prince catches up to her, the Dahaka shows up before they can fight. But now with the water sword, the prince can damage the Dahaka. With Kylina's help, they defeat the Dahaka together, and then Kylina agrees to leave the island with the prince and return to Babylon. While on the ship, there's a CG cutscene where I think they're having sex, but the camera work is all over the place and it's hard to tell, because they're not actually ever kissing. They're just kind of holding each other and rubbing each other and kind of going like, At the same time, it cuts to Babylon under attack by this mysterious man in black, who claims that the prince hasn't escaped his fate at all. And then you see a crown roll indicating that the king is dead. It also shows Pharaoh getting captured by the enemy as well. So we'll most likely see her in the next game. The game cuts to black and the credits roll while a nice heavy metal song called I Stand Alone by Godsmack plays. In conclusion, this game is way better than the Sands of Time. They fixed so many issues I had with the first game, and even though it's a dark, edgy game, I did really like it. There were a few issues with lag and glitches and freezing, but as soon as I found the solution of disconnecting from the internet, it was a blast to play. I'm excited to see what they do with the third and final game in the Sands of Time trilogy. So, I'll see you all next time with the Prince of Persia, The Two Thrones. I hope you all have an amazing day, or night, whenever you're watching, and as always, take care.